Centuries passed, yet the memory of the reckoning never faded. Across the galaxy, in taverns, academies, and military halls, one story echoed louder than any other: the rise of humanity. They had begun as shadows, overlooked and mocked. But in fire and blood they had carved a place no one could ignore. Where other empires relied on tradition, humans relied on will. Where others broke under pressure, humans thrived. They became the unpredictable predator of the stars. Alien children grew up with warnings whispered by their parents. Never provoke the humans. Commanders drilled their soldiers with one sacred rule: if you face humans, expect the unexpected. The dominion of mankind spread far beyond Earth. From the frozen colonies of Europa to the burning skies of Tau Ceti, their banner flew. Each new world was forged into both home and fortress. Humanity had not only survived, they had become guardians of their own destiny. But with power came something greater: fear. Even their allies never fully trusted them. Traders carried their goods, but always with unease. Diplomats smiled at human envoys, but whispered behind closed doors. The truth was undeniable. Humanity had crossed a threshold. They were no longer underestimated. They were legends, and legends inspire fear. Yet beneath this aura of dominance, humanity remembered the price. The burned cities of Earth, the lost millions, the endless sacrifices. Every victory had been soaked in blood, and they knew peace would never last. Then came the signal. It was faint at first, an echo from beyond the rim of known space. Unlike anything the galaxy had heard before. Ancient, cold, relentless. Dominion scientists studied it in silence, their faces pale. When the transmission was decoded, a single phrase repeated across the waves: "We are coming." At first, the galaxy dismissed it as another human trick. But deep within their archives, ancient records stirred, fragments of civilizations erased before the Council was born, names of entities long thought myth, creatures older than empires, older than stars. The galaxy trembled, and for the first time, they looked to humanity not with mockery nor even hatred, but with desperate hope. Because if anyone could stand against the darkness, it was them. The Dominion received envoys from species who had once scorned them. Pleas for alliance, offers of tribute. Humanity listened, silent, remembering centuries of ridicule. Then their leader spoke words that chilled the chamber. "We were overlooked once. We will not be overlooked again. If the darkness comes, it will find us waiting." And so the legend grew. Humanity, once the forgotten species, now stood as the galaxy's shield and its greatest terror. They had become what no one expected: the most feared, the most resilient, the most relentless species to ever walk among the stars. Final cliffhanger. At the edge of known space, a colossal shadow moved, vast enough to swallow fleets whole. Humanity's greatest test was yet to come. The war with the Dravak ended in ashes and silence. Earth had survived, but the cost was carved into every crater, every ruined city, every family that mourned. Humanity had bled more than ever before, but they had also tasted victory, and victory changed everything. The dominion of mankind rose from the ruins. Nations dissolved their borders, armies merged, and industry bent itself entirely toward the stars. Humanity, once scattered and divided, now marched as one. Their banner carried a single promise: never again shall we be overlooked. Factories thundered without pause, birthing warships at a pace that shocked even their enemies. But these were not graceful vessels like those of the old empires. Human ships were jagged, brutal things, machines built for survival and destruction. Where elegance failed, efficiency thrived. Where tradition bound others, innovation unchained humanity. Alien spies described the change with growing dread. "They do not rebuild as others do," one whispered. "They transform." The galaxy trembled as the first Dominion fleet spread beyond Sol. Colonies rose on Mars, Titan, Europa, and beyond. Every frontier world became a fortress. Even in celebration, humanity prepared for the next war. They knew it was coming, because the galaxy had noticed. The council chamber grew louder with every session. The Tyrell called humanity a disease that must be cleansed. The Serac warned of a predator unlike any other, but none could agree on how to stop them. Fear divided the empires just as fear united humanity. And fear is a powerful weapon. Among the stars, alien children whispered bedtime warnings. Do not anger the humans. Merchants spoke in hushed tones about colonies destroyed by human tricks. Soldiers who had faced them returned broken, whispering of battles where humans fought even while burning alive. Yet for humanity, survival was not enough. They wanted respect, they wanted recognition, and most of all, they wanted the galaxy to remember what it had done to them. The centuries of mockery, of being overlooked, of being called weak. The Dominion began to expand aggressively. Human fleets seized territory abandoned by weaker empires. Outposts were fortified into bastions. Trade routes fell under their control. At first, no one dared challenge them, not after what happened to the Dravak. But whispers grew into plans. In secret chambers, the galaxy's greatest powers came together. Rivals who had warred for centuries now spoke with one voice. Humanity must be stopped. The coalition they formed was unlike anything seen before. Fleets from 5 empires united not by loyalty but by fear. They believed sheer numbers would crush humanity's spirit. That overwhelming power would erase the Dominion before it grew too strong. But they misunderstood the truth. Humans did not fear numbers. They did not fear strength. They had faced extinction countless times in their own history, and every time, they had risen stronger. The coalition had declared war on a species that had made survival an art. Cliffhanger. The coalition fleets began to gather, a storm of firepower unlike any in history, and in the silence of deep space, humanity's answer awaited. The coalition was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Rivals who had slaughtered each other for centuries now stood side by side, united by fear of a single species, humanity. Fleets from 5 empires gathered at the edges of human space, thousands of warships forming a storm of firepower meant to drown the Dominion forever. The council declared it would be swift. Humanity will fall in days, one delegate boasted. The flame they sparked will be snuffed out before it spreads. But humanity had been listening. In the silence of deep space, the Dominion prepared. Factories on Earth and Mars thundered day and night. Titan's shipyards birthed war machines larger than anything humans had ever built before. Soldiers drilled in conditions so brutal that even alien spies recoiled at the footage. Humanity was no longer reacting to war, they were shaping it. Then came the secret weapon. For years, human scientists had worked in hidden vaults buried beneath oceans and mountains, chasing an idea no empire dared attempt. They called it the Shroud Project. It was not just a weapon, it was a philosophy. War as misdirection, survival as art. When the coalition finally advanced, expecting a desperate stand, they found empty space once again. No fleets waiting, no defenses in sight. Arrogant commanders laughed. They flee like vermin. But as their fleets pushed deeper, the truth unfolded. Entire sectors collapsed into chaos. Navigation systems scrambled. Sensors blinded. Coalition fleets found themselves lost, separated, ambushed. Human warships appeared where none should exist, striking with terrifying precision, then vanishing into darkness. Every engagement left the coalition bleeding. Every defeat was broadcast across the galaxy. The council panicked. How do they do this? The answer was horrifyingly simple: adaptability. Humanity had learned the coalition's formations, dissected their strategies, and turned them against them. Where empires followed rigid doctrines honed over millennia, humans rewrote the rules of war with every battle. But the true reckoning came at the Battle of Helios. Rift, the coalition's combined armada, over 2,000 ships, descended on what they believed to be the Dominion's final fleet. The trap was perfect, or so they thought. They unleashed their full might, burning through asteroids, tearing apart decoys, until the stars themselves shifted. The Shroud activated. For the first time, humanity revealed their hidden technology, fields of distorted space that bent light, masked fleets, and twisted sensors. Entire human armadas emerged from the void, invisible until it was too late. Coalition ships were surrounded, their formations shattered. In less than a day, half their fleet was annihilated. The survivors fled, their leaders screaming in disbelief. "It is impossible. They should not be able to do this." But they had. Humanity had faced the might of 5 empires and broken them. The galaxy watched in silence. No one laughed now. No one mocked. The truth was undeniable. Humanity was no longer overlooked. They were no longer underestimated. They were feared. Cliffhanger. In the aftermath, as empires licked their wounds, a chilling transmission reached Earth from beyond the known galaxy. Something far older, far darker had begun to stir. The galaxy had underestimated humans for the last time. What began as whispers after the Aurora's victory had now grown into a storm. Empires debated, warlords schemed, and spies swarmed across the Sol system. Yet even as the galaxy plotted, humanity changed. The people of Earth, once divided, began to unite, not by politics or by old flags, but by something greater. A shared awareness that survival demanded more. Humanity stood at the edge of extinction or ascendancy, and they chose ascendancy. Factories blazed with light across continents. Satellites launched daily. Old rivalries were buried as nations shared technology and resources under a single banner, the dominion of mankind. Soldiers were trained not in comfort, but in hardship. Harsh simulations recreated alien battlefields, punishing environments, and brutal combat. Recruits pushed their bodies to breaking limits. Alien observers reported with growing dread. "They suffer willingly," one spy wrote. "They break themselves, only to rise stronger." But it wasn't only soldiers who transformed. Scientists became warriors of invention, creating weapons and tactics that defied galactic tradition. Where empires relied on predictable strategies, humans embraced chaos. They turned civilian satellites into hidden weapons, mining drones into hunter-killers. Even their failures became lessons, each mistake sharpening their blade. The Council scoffed at first. "They cannot catch us," an elder alien declared. "It takes centuries for a race to reach parity with the stars." But humans did in years what took others centuries. In hidden bases on the Moon and Mars, fleets were assembled. Not elegant cruisers like those of the Tyrell or Serac, but lean, jagged vessels designed for speed, deception, and devastating strikes. Each ship carried the mark of desperate ingenuity, machines that looked crude, yet worked with terrifying effectiveness. Meanwhile, deep beneath Earth's oceans, scientists tested weapons that bent the rules of physics itself. Fusion torpedoes, stealth fields, adaptive armor. Every innovation shocked the spies who risked their lives to steal it. "They innovate like they breathe," one report warned. "What they lack in tradition, they replace with relentless imagination." The galaxy laughed no longer, but fear bred action. The Dravak Empire, humiliated twice, declared open war. They dispatched a full fleet, 100 ships strong, into human territory, confident that this upstart species would finally be crushed. What they found instead was a nightmare. Human ships didn't meet them head-on. They scattered, vanished, and struck from the dark. Mines hidden in asteroid fields crippled the first wave. Hackers infiltrated Dravak systems, turning their own weapons against them. Where aliens expected order, they found chaos. Where they expected weakness, they found fire, and then came the most chilling moment. A human fleet, once thought destroyed, reappeared behind enemy lines. They had hidden within the shadow of a gas giant for days, undetected, waiting. When they struck, the Dravak fleet collapsed into panic. The impossible had happened again. For the first time, alien warlords admitted a truth they had long denied. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity was awakening. Cliffhanger. Across the stars, alien empires whispered one word with fear: war. The day finally came when whispers turned into fire. The Dravak Empire, humiliated twice by humanity, unleashed its fury. Not a raid, not a test. This time they sent a full invasion fleet, 500 warships, each larger than any vessel Earth had ever built. Their mission was simple: burn humanity from existence. The galaxy watched eagerly. Many expected the spectacle of Earth's annihilation. Broadcast relays carried live feeds, commentators spoke of humanity's final mistake, and alien crowds filled arenas to watch the destruction. For them, it was entertainment. On Earth, the mood was very different. Cities went silent. Families embraced. Soldiers stood ready. Leaders of the dominion of mankind declared one message to every citizen: we are not prey. We are not forgotten. Today we fight for our place among the stars. And fight they did. When the Dravak fleet entered human space, they found nothing. Empty systems. Silent worlds. The enemy grew uneasy, their commanders impatient. But then the war began, not with fleets, but with shadows. Human strike teams unleashed chaos across the stars. Ambushes in asteroid belts shredded Dravak escorts. Sabotaged supply ships exploded from within. Entire squadrons disappeared in nebulas where human vessels waited in silence. The Dravak commanders roared with fury. Cowards! Face us directly! But humans never fought by the Empire's rules. They fought dirty. They fought desperate. They fought like survival itself was their weapon. Every defeat enraged the Dravak more. Yet with each victory, humanity grew bolder. For the first time in galactic history, a so-called lesser species turned the tactics of giants against them. Humans didn't just resist, they adapted faster than their enemies could comprehend. Alien spies described it in chilling words. They use fear itself as a weapon. But the true shock came months into the war. The Dravak fleet, weakened and scattered, was finally lured into Earth's orbit. Expecting to find a broken world, they instead faced a nightmare. Orbital fortresses, planetary defense cannons, and a swarm of human ships lying in wait. The battle was apocalyptic. Earth's skies blazed with fire. Cities trembled from the shockwaves of orbital bombardments. Yet the people did not break. For every human ship destroyed, 2 more hurled themselves at the enemy. Pilots rammed enemy cruisers. Soldiers boarded alien vessels with nothing but rifles and fury. Engineers rerouted failing weapons at the last second. Against all reason, the impossible happened. The Dravak fleet, once a wall of unstoppable firepower, collapsed. Their commanders screamed for retreat. Survivors fled in terror, leaving their dead drifting among the stars. The galaxy, watching live, fell silent. No one had expected it. No one could explain it. Humanity had faced a superpower, and won. But victory came at a cost. Earth's cities smoldered. Millions lay dead. Humanity was bloodied, scarred, but unbroken. And that truth echoed louder than any weapon. Across the galaxy, alien leaders trembled. For the first time in living memory, an empire had fallen back before a lesser race. And in the shadows of the council chambers, a chilling question rose. If this is their beginning, what will they become? Cliffhanger. In distant space, rival empires gathered secretly, forming an alliance. Their goal: end humanity before the fire spread too far. For as long as the Galactic Council had existed, humanity was nothing more than a footnote. To the mighty empires that ruled the stars, Earth was a quiet, unremarkable world. Its people were fragile, their technology primitive, their armies laughable. The Tyrell Empire described humans as soft animals. The Serac Dominion dismissed them as useful only for cheap labor. And whenever humans tried to petition for recognition, the council would sneer. They cannot even survive their own wars, one alien delegate said, his words echoing across the chamber. Why waste time on a species destined for extinction? Humanity was overlooked, ignored, forgotten. Yet on Earth things were different. Beneath their fragile appearance, humans carried something invisible, an endurance, a fire, a refusal to die quietly. They had survived plagues, famines, and wars that would have erased other civilizations. But to the galaxy, none of that mattered. The great empires saw only weakness. That arrogance blinded them. Deep within the Sol system, human explorers had begun to push further than ever before. A small ship, the Aurora, drifted beyond the boundaries of Earth's protection. Its crew were young, underfunded, and underestimated. No one expected them to survive long. When the Aurora stumbled into a patrol fleet belonging to the mighty Dravak Empire, the galaxy assumed it would be humanity's end. The Dravak commander laughed as the human ship came into view. Pathetic. Break their vessel. Bring me survivors. I want to see how long they last in chains. The order was given. Weapons charged. Humanity's fate seemed sealed, but then something unexpected happened. The Aurora fought back. Not with superior weapons or powerful shields, they had none. They fought with tricks, with desperation, with every ounce of human cunning. They used the Dravak's own overconfidence against them. A fake distress signal lured the enemy into a trap. A sudden burst of engine heat blinded the sensors of their ships. The humans fought like predators cornered, and for the first time in living memory, a Dravak fleet retreated in shame. The galaxy laughed when it first heard the story. A lucky accident, they said. Nothing more. But whispers began to spread in secret corridors. These humans, they are dangerous when ignored. On Earth, the victory ignited a fire. For the first time, humanity saw itself not as prey, but as something greater. The Council still refused to recognize them, but it no longer mattered. Humanity had tasted survival against impossible odds, and deep in the Council chambers, the alien delegates argued. Some still mocked, but others were not so sure. A single line was spoken that silenced them all. They are not strong. They are not advanced. But they adapt, and that makes them dangerous. The galaxy turned its gaze back toward the little blue world it had once dismissed, and what they saw would change everything. The story of the Aurora's impossible victory spread like wildfire. At first the Empires laughed. A fluke, they said. The Dravak commander was incompetent. But as details emerged, the laughter turned uneasy. Footage leaked onto Galactic networks, showing humans fighting with reckless cunning. Outnumbered, outgunned, yet refusing to bow. In council chambers across the stars, arguments erupted. Some demanded immediate action. Humanity must be crushed before they grew too bold. Others insisted it was nothing more than chance. But beneath the shouting, whispers of fear began to take root. On Earth, the news was met with shock, then pride. For centuries, humanity had been ignored. Now the galaxy finally knew their name. Crowds gathered in city streets, watching replay after replay of the Aurora's desperate battle. Soldiers stood taller. Scientists worked longer. Leaders, once divided, began to speak of unity. Perhaps one general whispered, "This is only the beginning," and indeed, it was. The Galactic Council dispatched spies to Earth. They expected to find a struggling world with fractured nations, crude machines, and empty bravado. What they discovered unsettled them far more. Humanity, though divided by borders and politics, carried something no algorithm could measure: adaptability. In every corner of their history, humans had clawed their way through chaos. Famine, plague, endless wars, they endured it all, reshaping themselves each time stronger than before. They are unpredictable, one council report warned. Their weakness is a mask. Their true danger lies in how they learn. The warning was ignored. Meanwhile, humanity pushed further into the stars. The Aurora's crew returned as heroes, inspiring thousands to volunteer for the new exploration corps. Makeshift fleets were built from old stations and retrofitted ships. Engineers worked tirelessly, creating weapons not of elegance but of brutal efficiency. Humanity's rise was messy, improvised, but unstoppable. The first spark had been lit, and nothing could extinguish it. Then came the test. A Dravak raiding party entered human space expecting easy revenge. Their fleet was larger, their weapons advanced. But this time humanity was ready. Instead of meeting them head-on, human ships vanished into asteroid fields using the rocks as shields and weapons. Explosives turned entire belts into storms of fire. Every ambush left the Dravak more shaken, their pride more wounded. When the last surviving Dravak vessel limped back to its empire, the galaxy's perception shifted forever. These humans were not prey. They were predators waiting for their moment. In hidden chambers, alien leaders debated once more. If we let them grow, they will become unstoppable, a Serac warlord hissed. They are still ants, another replied. Step on them now. But the fear was there, creeping like a shadow. Back on Earth, celebrations roared. Yet beneath the cheers, a sobering truth settled in the hearts of humanity's leaders. The galaxy had noticed them. And the galaxy would not sit idle. The first spark had ignited the fire, and soon, the fire would burn across the stars. Cliffhanger. Far beyond human space, a vast alien armada began to move, preparing to silence humanity before their flame grew into a blaze.